So I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Josh Laws. I'm emceeing today. Really excited to have the panel here. I know that you guys all are too. Let's just say that, first off, having a panel on non-monogamy is not an endorsement of any lifestyle over another lifestyle. Oasis is an inclusive community. We have people from all stripes. Poly is just one of them. I mean, some people like snickerdoodle cookies. Some people don't like snickerdoodle cookies. That's fine. Everybody has a right to live their life how they want to, and that's the way we like to do things here. So, you know, if you are influenced by the panel and you think you want to date afterwards, you know, feel free to look me up. Dr. Berger, I'm looking your direction. But I'm going to go ahead and have Darrel come up. Darrel is one of the founding members of Covering from Religion. Yes, I fumbled there. Covering from Religion. He's a psychologist. He's a wonderful speaker. He's a great member of this community. So, Darrel, whenever you're ready, where is he? Oh, there he is.
All right. Am I on? All right. Wow, where do you get music like that in a church? You know, I think that qualifies us now as a mega church because they all have their bands, you know. But we don't have to sing about any specific thing. That was great, you guys. I loved it. I didn't know Mark could play bass like that either. That's pretty cool. Well, thanks for being here. Wow, we got a great crowd here today. And we had a great party Friday night for R&R. How many of you were there? We had a whole lot of people there. Cool. 55 people showed up for R&R. If you didn't make it, you're lost. We had a great time. And this place has got some great stuff coming up. Labor Day weekend party at my place, but we've got so many cool programs here at Oasis. So if this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. Come back. So today's panel is called Beyond Non-monogamy. That too, yeah. Beyond monogamy. Okay, I can't even read today. So you may not realize it, but most of us are already beyond monogamy. You may be more closely aligned with our panelists here than you even realize. After we finished talking today, you may have some new insights. So monogamy is defined in biology and in religion as one sex partner for life. If you've had more than one sex partner in your lifetime, then you are non-monogamous by definition. One study found that 20% of American men and 31% of American women have had more than one sex partner, 21% and 31% of men and women have had one sex partner in their lifetime, which means 70 to 80% of us are non-monogamous already. We've had more than one sex partner, just by definition. So, what is most common? Well, it's certainly not monogamy if 70 to 80% of us don't fit into that one sex partner for life. If you've got any doubts about this, we are not a monogamous species, then just talk to me later. I give you tons of references about how we function as a species, including my book, Sex and God, which you can buy over here. And all proceeds today go directly to Oasis. I don't get a dime of it. I want everybody that buys a t-shirt or a book to just, you're donating to Oasis if you do that. So for people who talk about monogamy today, what they're really talking about is exclusivity for a period of time. Some people prefer an exclusive relationship that lasts a long time, and maybe even a lifetime. But those people, most of them can't say that they've only had one sex partner in their whole life. So even if they are with somebody most of their life or all their life, if they've had one other sex partner, they don't fit the definition. So the real question today is, what kind of non-monogamy do you choose for yourself? Have you been married 2 or more times? And if you're satisfied with that approach, then that's okay. You may be a person who chooses to have one partner exclusively for a long period of time. It's a legitimate choice for many people, but it's not monogamy. It is simply a different form of non-monogamy. As secularists, we recognize that we have the right to make our own choices about religion, about relationships, about sex. And there's no rational reason for us to follow a 2,000-year-old idea about what marriage should be or relationships should be. So that's kind of an introduction. But I now want to make a little note about our panel today. We humans like to name everything. We like to put names and labels on everything. And that's perfectly fine. I don't have any problems with it. But we also need to recognize that people have a right to create their own relationships and their relationship configurations, and they have the right to name them themselves. Whether they fit into our neat categories or not, there are many relationship configurations that don't fit into any category. So today, let's not get too hung up on what our panelists call themselves or call their relationship. Let them name it, let them explain it. It's theirs. Whether you agree with it, whether you want it, whether you like it, is fucking irrelevant. It's their life, whether you like it or not. Because it's their choice and their label, they are accountable for that, and they'll tell us how they live that life. What we're here to do is to understand what relationship options our friends here have chosen for themselves, and to educate ourselves about them. And you may never choose any of these. I am not an advocate one way or the other. I'm an advocate of making your own choices, not an advocate of any particular choice. I can listen and understand the choices of a vegetarian or a vegan without having to become a vegan or a vegetarian. I can recognize that they are legitimate choices, but not necessarily the choices I would make. In the same way, I can listen to each of our panelists' relationship choices and not want to make those choices myself, but still understand them. Or in the words of the great, famous Dr. David Berger, who I just saw this quote yesterday on Facebook, he says, "I like to play Dungeons and Dragons with several people. You like to play chess with one person. This is fine. People are allowed to play games they like without disparaging the games other people like." I think that's better said than I could say it. Thank you, David. All right. Then the complication came. People got on Facebook and started talking about multiple player chess and multi-dimension chess. Even David Berger can't win with this crowd, so I don't go there. So now let's begin by hearing from each of our panelists. Each will describe a little about themselves and the relationship approach they have chosen. Then we'll get into a broader discussion with you, the audience, as you write your questions down. And feel free to write your questions down, just pass them to the center so that Michael Lynn and James will they'll be circulating all the time. And if, we'll be taking questions all throughout, and they'll be reading them. The main thing is write a complete thought, okay? Only put one question per card. We don't need 3 questions, one question. And make sure your question is one question, not 3 questions in a single sentence. It just makes life easier for me, the moderator, and I'm kind of lazy today, okay? So we're going to begin over here with James. Are you all right? We'll start. Oh, I'm sorry. Veronica gets to go first. All right. Now, I have a fancy new gadget here that times people for 3 minutes. All right, I told you 3 minutes. So I'm going to start my clock, and I'll give you when I do this, it means you got 30 seconds left, so wrap it up. And we'll get everybody finished in 3 minutes, and then we'll come back, and I'm going to ask the panel to interact. If you want to clean some stuff up that you didn't remember to say, or say, well, that's fine too. And then after that part's finished, we'll just start taking questions. Okay, go, Veronica.
Okay, this works, right? Yay! Okay. Hi, my name is Veronica Brown. A lot of people already know me. I'm one of the leaders of Kansas City Oasis. I do the design work, so I was pretty sure I did that. Maybe you just know me as the lady who brings the donuts and wears high heels every day. So, and if you've been around a while, you might also know about Kansas City Atheist Coalition. I do the design work there. I'm one of the founding members. And then I've also done some little artwork for polyamorous families of Kansas City. Shout out to my guys over there. So if you are curious about my particular form of the lifestyle, they're great people to talk to. So, you may have also heard some of the rumors about me. They're all true. I am not fan Comic Sans. There may or may not be a video online with that particular talk. There might be a longer video online at the Kansas City Oasis YouTube site where I give a presentation on polyamory. So if you're curious, it's about an hour long, but very well worth a watch. You may also know my husband Dave. He's totally paying attention. And he's the bald guy who gives hugs to everybody every morning. He's the treasurer for Oasis, so if you have questions about budget or expenditures, you can talk to him and be prepared for graphs and tables and data and more data. And yeah, go ahead and ask him questions, but you'll be there for a little while. He's an engineer, he can't help it. You might also know my boyfriend. He's the one passing out the cards and taking the questions. So he has this really weird, crazy superpower. He can remember both faces and names when he meets a person. So I've never been able to do that. He could do it like when he meets them for the first time, for like 5 seconds. Yeah. And it's probably helped along by the fact that half the guys at Oasis are named Josh or Dave, but I still give them a lot of credit for the power anyway. So, and then you might notice that I kind of have a type, but I call him my arm candy because he's always at my side at the big social events, and because he's so sweet. And another good, really? All right, metamors. A few metamors. Emily is James's wife, so she's on the panel. I'll let her introduce herself and skip ahead. I am grateful for an environment like Oasis where I can find acceptance for my partners and myself, and a place for support and understanding, which is what I want to hope to facilitate today. And then how do I define my relationship style? Basically, I'm in a long-term cohabitating committed relationship with my legally bound husband, even though we're emotionally and sexually very satisfied. Neither of us desire to be monogamous, and therefore are open to other relationships. He's got girlfriends, I've got boyfriends, I've play partners. I'm also in a committed relationship with my boyfriend. I do consider it to be long-term. And I do have other partners on the side, sometimes temporary, sometimes as long-term as I can hope to make them. To sum it up, I'm polyamorous and proud.
Thank you. Emily. Emily's going to go next.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emily. I've been coming to Oasis since March. I was pretty shy when I first started. I still consider myself fairly shy, but I think I'm getting better. I started working in the child care room, which has been fulfilling, fun, working with the youngsters. My husband, James, was the one who first found Oasis, so he introduced me to this community. I'm very thankful for that. He's over there. Yeah, hi. So basically, as Veronica's mentioned, she's my metamor. That means that she's in a relationship with my husband. I consider myself monogamous. So our style of relationship, if you're going to give it a definition, is called a polyamorous type of relationship, which means that I am willing to let my husband have other relationships outside of ours, but I choose not to at this time. I'm given the option to. It's not like I'm forbidden or anything. I could, but I choose not to at this time. Yeah. A little bit about our relationship. I'm really sorry, I'm nervous. We started dating 8 years ago, more or less. This was after both of our previous marriages had ended in divorce. We found companionship in a shared heartache and held each other's hands through a very difficult time in both of our lives. We became partners, best friends. We became co-parents to my son, Fen, who was born out of my previous relationship. This was great to meet James, love of my life. This kept us going, this relationship kept us going, our companionship, for about 7 years. Until we both realized that while being best friends, co-parents is great and wonderful, we needed more. We weren't sure if the path we were taking would get us through another 7 years, or for that matter, a lifetime. My husband is an extrovert. I don't think he would be shaking up here like I am now. He enjoys being around people, going out to social gatherings, being Veronica's arm candy. It's really cute. He dresses really nice. He likes to go out to social gatherings and connecting with people. For the most part, I do not. Okay, I prefer to stay at home and read or wander in the woods, kind of as my own companion. He has more energy for intimacy. I can only handle so much. He needs more than I am able to give. This is part of the reason why we decided to go down the route where he has other relationships, but I choose not. It was a difficult decision to open up the relationship. Slow process, a lot of communication to make sure that we were both comfortable with the route that we were taking. But I would say this has been the best decision we could have made. Our communication is just awesome, and we have an extended family now with Dave and Veronica and everyone else, and it's just a great experience for me. I've never felt really part of a family, so thank you.
Makes it easier for me if I walk around a little bit. You all know I get nervous. I'm here to tell you, I'm kind of representing solo poly, so I'll talk about that a little bit, but I also want you to know that there is sex after 60. Yeah? If you want it, of course. I think I've always been poly. I just didn't know it. And I always had multiple relationships. I was in a very long-term relationship, 30 years, with the love of my life, loved the guy. Thought he was great. We were best friends. It was a wonderful relationship. And I also had an affair of 20 years at the same time. So the 30-year relationship, we didn't live together, we weren't married, but there was a need in me, anyway, to have another relationship, which I did. I ended that affair. I did think of it as an affair. I did not tell him about the relationship. I didn't feel right about that. I felt guilty about it. But I don't know, I needed that other relationship too. So 5 years ago, Joe died, and the other relationship had already ended, and I knew I couldn't continue that. I knew I had to do something a little bit different. I just didn't know what it was. So I met a guy online. I do meet people online. That's how I meet them. And I find it a wonderful experience. I do not find it, I'm not any more nervous about meeting somebody that way than I would in a bar or some other way. And I met a guy who was poly, and I don't know, I wasn't so sure about that. I mean, it made some sense. But what I said to him was, I don't share. And he said, you know what, Maureen, yes you do. You have been sharing, you just didn't know it. So I read some books, I read Ethical Slut, I read some other things, joined the polyamorous family group, and I don't know, it seems to work, it works for me. It works for me very well. Okay, I'm called solo poly. It's because I don't have a primary relationship. I have these other relationships, a number of relationships. I think of it as Maureen poly. You know, it's just, it is the way I do it. It seems to work for me now. I don't want to be married. I don't want anybody living with me. And I'm certainly not going to join bank accounts with anybody. No way, no way. So that makes a big difference. It means I'm free to do what I want. Oh, shit. I'm free to do what I want. Let me see. All right, Polly. I guess the biggest thing that I think is that it's not that, even though I have a number of relationships, I have 2 guys who I see every week, I have 3 guys that I see occasionally. I consider that I have relationships. It's not just the sex is great, but it's not just that. I do think that the relationships are important. We have to have something to talk about afterwards.
So I definitely see that I got the corded mic though. I think this was on purpose. No, it's okay. It's totally fine, totally fine. Thank you, Darrell, because I actually didn't know that I could name my relationship. I'm gonna name it Bob, because that kind of sounds like a great idea. My name is James Polansky, and to give you a little bit of background on who I am and what I do, I'm a hairstylist. I own a salon here in Kansas City, as a matter of fact out in Leawood, called Pinky Couture, and I've been in business for now 10 years and very successful at that. I've got a girlfriend that I care about a lot. We have a lot of fun together, lots of adventures, going out and really kind of experiencing a lot of new things. I also have 2 children. They are from different parents, or different mothers. Obviously, one parent is here. And by definition, that then therefore makes me non-monogamous, right? So, it's been an interesting adventure, for sure, I'll tell you that. My characteristic that I bring to the table for all you guys to experience is I would call myself a swinger. What's very about that is it's all fun and none of the bullshit. It really has some very specific things about it, and as you guys find more interesting conversations that you would like to talk about, I can get into more details. But generally, most people think it's just a way to go screw around on everybody and have a great time and all kinds of other stuff. I'm going to take the opportunity to actually speak to you guys about the relationship part of what it is to be a swinger. And I think that is actually very specific and very, very personal. I love my relationships and have always loved my relationships to the fullest that I can. And just because I'm with somebody else doesn't necessarily mean that that love is displaced. There is a little bit of what I consider animal instincts in all of us, and those animal instincts create sexual desire. I really want to experience fantastic adventures with my relationship. We just spent the night out at the lake on the boat, having a good time, really enjoying ourselves. And what was great about that is that you can tailor it when you take the constitute of a relationship away from a parameter, okay? And that's what everybody does. So everybody's, you know, if you're in a monogamous relationship or a typical relationship, you're gonna be like, oh, you know, hey, I'm just gonna sleep with this person, this is all it's ever gonna be, therefore, I love them. And that's a fallacy. Love is, absolutely, love is defined by the emotion that you feel to another person. So the words, I love you, come from in high here, not down here. So because I sleep with you doesn't mean that I love you. And because I am sleeping with you doesn't mean that anything's changed. So in my relationship that I have, I sleep with her, I love her, and we have great relationships. But because our love is not defined by our sex, we now can enjoy new types of relationships and adventures, you know? I prefer and enjoy a sexual type of adventure as well. So we get the opportunity to love each other and have great adventures together. And that's kind of how I see it, and I really kind of appreciate it. Our communication is really great, and our understanding and lack of jealousy is fantastic. Because we trust what words were given to each other, and we believe in it. And that's why I'm a swinger. So, fire away and let me know, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Darrel, it's all yours.
Beyond monogamy, and we're certainly beyond monogamy here. I always think it's fascinating. If you just look at the books that have been published on some of this stuff, most of the books have been written by women, by females. And we got 3 women up here and 1 male. And a lot of people tell me, well, poly is just one way for a guy to get laid a lot. But that's really not what it's all about. It's not for swingers either. It's just making choices that satisfy us. So now's the part you guys get to participate in, and I've got 2 great people been walking around collecting your questions, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question, and oh boy, this very first one, wouldn't you know it? Okay, if you want to answer it, just raise your hand. I'm going to keep you to about 30 seconds, or not much more than that per person, because some of these questions, I think there's good multiple answers. I don't want one person to be the only answerer. And we'll try and get through a lot of these questions. So the very first one is the toughest. How do you overcome jealousy? Who wants to do, well, I'm sure all 4 of you want to talk about that one. Okay, Emily, you want to talk about that one? All right, we'll let Emily start off, and grab a mic if you don't have one.
Yeah, I'll admit, it was really hard for me to let go. The first date that James went on with someone else was terrifying. But you know, communication is the key. I mean, you have to keep talking to each other. I mean, as soon as I feel something, as soon as I feel scared, I let him know, and we talk it through, and my fears are abated. Sometimes if I'm feeling that way and he's not there to help me out, distractions are always good. Eating chocolate and watching Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, Charlie, is that a thing? But I'm monogamous. But all of that helps. All of that helps. Is that a good answer?
Your answer, that's all we care about. You're all supposed to deal with that one. No, not Veronica. You wouldn't want to talk about that, would you? Go for it.
About jealousy. A lot of times, well, jealousy is a very compound emotion, so it's very complex. When I've experienced it, a lot of times it more has to do with the insecurities I have about myself, not so much about Dave or fear of loss or anything. It's usually, I've gotten jealous over, or insecure about partners he's had that I feel like are better than me. But it has nothing to do with whether I'm getting my needs met or anything like that. So for me, dealing with jealousy, it's a lot of self-analysis. Like, oh, this partner's great and amazing, and she's smart and witty and has a cool job, but that's more my insecurities about myself. And it's not so much that he's looking for somebody like that or doesn't find anything valuable in me. So it's a lot of self-work as well as communication.
Yeah. Either of the other 2 you want to talk about?
Yeah, so what's nice about this situation that I'm coming at and the perspective is that because sex is already on the table, the person that comes home and spends my life with me is my lover. And with the communication of communicating that really well, it helps understand and curb jealousy in that element. But what's also nice about that is most of our experiences are a night. So it's kind of easy to kind of pass it on as that goes on without having to have, in a polyamorous relationship, a continuous communication about that. It was a great time, we had a good event, and we're on to our next day. So it kind of also helps in that aspect. It's more of a short-term goal and need, so.
Okay. All right, so next question. Poly is what you do when your relationship is struggling? Right? That's the question mark here. Okay, let's... Veronica.
No. Actually, if you're having troubles in your relationship, I highly recommend, please don't be non-monogamous. Don't try. There's a one-liner that we use often, relationship broken to add more people. It's a do not do. So yeah, if you have a great relationship, you have good communication skills, you have good relationship skills, then maybe polyamory is something you can explore in a healthy manner. Yeah, if you have a troubled relationship, you need to work on communication and things like that, not opening up or seeing other people. You might as well just break up.
Other responses to that question? Okay, next question. What is the hardest part of being in a poly relationship? Hold on, let's... Maureen? Okay.
People always say it's time and the timing of things and arranging things. I'm not so sure I think that. Sometimes that's true. That I think it's that maybe I want to see the person and it's not my day, or they want to see me and it's not their day, which is how I do it. But so I think it is somewhat that it is that calendar piece or that arranging piece, that it's the time piece. You know, we have enough love. We all have an abundance of love, but we don't have an abundance of time.
Other? Veronica? You want to?
I was just going to say calendars. It's working with multiple people, like Dave's partners, me, my partners, my partner's partners. Google Calendars. Google is actually designed for non-monogamy, I think, because everybody can share calendars, share map locations, share information very easily, and that has made me more organized and makes it a lot easier to kind of keep track of time and schedule out my weekends. I still double book myself pretty often, but it's better.
Okay, how do you handle the time that all your relationships, I can't quite read that handwriting. How do you handle time so that all of your relationships get equal or fair time? Now that's a slightly different question. James, you want to talk about that?
Well, mine is actually kind of very simple because mine all kind of wraps itself up into a night. You can find multiple people that you start to build a relationship, so then a swinger can easily become a very slight polyamorous type of situation and or fall into a polyamorous situation. So that's kind of nice. But for us, it's nice because it's just a light, airy kind of event. So time management on this side, fulfilling the sexual needs as far as what we crave, becomes very manageable at that. So probably call me the light version of polyamory kind of thing.
Okay, polyamory light. Good deal. Maureen?
I think what has worked for me is that when I'm with that person, I am with that person. So that's where I concentrate on. I'm not doing all sorts of other things or thinking about all sorts. I really try to limit the amount of time that, I try to turn off my phone and, I try not to text too much, when I'm with somebody else, but I really try to concentrate. I think the other piece of it is that all my people know I have other people's, and they pretty much know, not who they are, but they know about them. So if I say to one of them, hey, so-and-so is free tonight, and I know we normally meet, can we move around? Can we flex our schedule? But to me, the piece of it is that I try very hard to make sure that I'm concentrating on that particular person and take value in that time when I'm with that person.
Let me throw one thing.
Yeah, okay.
I just realized with Maureen bringing this up, time. What's kind of really nice that Veronica had said that she double books herself. In a swinging situation, that's called a party. So I'm still double booking.
Yeah, that is something I could mention. when partners get along, when metamors get along, it's easy for all of us to hang out together. So we kind of call we call our group like a polycule. It's a term we use because it looks like a molecule when you map out all the little faces and stuff. So it's, we can spend time with James together, and Dave can come in, and Tiffany can come in, and yeah, we are all pretty chill together.
You have something else, Maureen?
Can we talk about those terms, primary and secondary?
Sure, give a
little
quick
bit?
explanation.
And we've kind of used them, and I think Jesse, where's Jesse? Jesse would say, Jesse doesn't like using those terms, and I really agree with her because I don't really see all of this as a ladder, but more as a mobile, so that people have value, and even though they're called secondary, that it's more like a mobile, and that, you know what I mean? And so that things sometimes are moving. Relationships are moving. We are all changing at different times. And so that, I think, to say, like I say, I don't have a primary. I have my own primary, is what I say. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that there's less value in those other relationships.
So I'm going to move on because we've gotten several answers. Is polyamory a luxury only afforded to the relatively affluent and educated? Who wants to talk about that? Veronica? Okay.
I guess not really. It might be more visible because that's what's easy to show on TV. I know there's the Showtime or HBO or whatever. There's a cable show where it's rich white, pretty people, polyamorous or something. And that's what you see in media a lot. And then, you do have more free time if you don't have 3 jobs and, kids to wrangle and no daycare options or things like that. Or if you're retired. Yeah, being retired probably lets. The time management is a lot of it. So money does help manage time. So as a finite resource, but it is open to everybody. Like one of my more casual partners is very lower income, so yeah, still makes it work.
Right. Other answers to that question?
Well, on the pretty people thing, I think that's one stigma that kind of comes up a lot, is that only pretty people can do these types of things. And everybody has sex. Everybody has a relationship. Just kind of make your own choices. Really, in the end, and you'll probably hear this a lot, is that a relationship is your choice. Not defined by really anybody else, not defined by anything other than your heart and the way you believe. So what's super nice about it is we all can be in any situation we choose.
How do kids adjust? What happens? And the second part of that is, do they get picked on? So there's kind of 2 aspects of that. How do the kids adjust, and what's the consequence to the kid of this lifestyle that you have chosen? Yeah, Emily?
I haven't necessarily, we're not really out to our community, except, in terms of Oasis. None of his teachers necessarily will know what our relationship style is. He knows about James's relationship with Veronica, but we basically tell him that, there's a lot of love to go around. I grew up in a family, my mom and dad. You would think that I would have had it good, right? Because I was an only child. You'd think that I would have been spoiled, but my parents, they just didn't communicate. When they did, they were mean to each other. So I feel pretty lucky about the environment that Fenn is in, because he has Veronica, who could probably teach him how to play Magic or Dungeons and Dragons, and Dave is into Legos. We haven't really gone to that point yet, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for Fenn in this configuration to really experience a lot and get a lot more love than I got growing up. He's been really happy, I would say, with coming to Oasis, and Veronica, I think, is going to start picking him up from school, and it's just really exciting that he's gonna have, I don't know, all these people who care about him.
Yeah, if you read, you may not know it, but we have a number of poly people in this room right now that have children and interact, and I've seen the support that the metamors bring into the situation oftentimes. And it's really, it gives the kids a lot more support than they would have had in a more traditional relationship. When your partner feels insecure, do you scale back and tend to them, or do you keep things consistent and let them work it out? Who will give that one a shot?
I'll jump in. Communication is always super important. You wouldn't have a relationship if you didn't care about the needs of the person you loved. So bottom line, no matter what choice of relationship and or sexual partnership you choose, the feelings of another person are always the highest priority. You want to make sure that that person knows that they're being taken care of, knows that you care and are considerate about their feelings and who they are. So, but neglecting them is negative in any relationship. And I think that you really miss the mark by channeling it as, oh, well, you can just go do what you need to, or you can just do what you want. I think that you really need to expose those feelings first and foremost, and then try to communicate them.
Veronica? Maureen? Okay, Maureen agrees. We have 5 minutes left, so I want to keep
Okay.
this
We haven't experienced a lot of big insecurity necessarily, but sometimes, one person does take priority, whether they're a more dedicated cohabitating partner or a casual partner. Like recently I had an emergency, something had happened and I needed James. And James and Emily were on a way to an event. I called them and Emily's just like, no, go do this, it's fine. I get it. It's a circumstance that, she needs you right now. This other thing is not a big deal. So, you can be compassionate towards everybody in the group and kind of realize what people need, and then everybody can communicate with each other. Sometimes insecurity is helped by communicating with your metamor. Like, if I feel insecure about something, I can talk to Emily because we've been working on that relationship, or somebody else.
Excellent, yeah.
Most of the people that I see are poly. Also, I will tell you that I find it a whole lot easier. Two of the guys are poly-friendly. And and I do have to take a little bit more care with one of the guys who, just to make sure that he's understanding what I'm doing and understanding really, it's really just making sure that he knows how important he is to me. That's the piece that is, and I just have to kind of watch that a little bit, but it really is what you would do in a relationship, any relationship anyway, and what you would do in a friendship.
There's actually something I think is really cool that you get to see here in a situation. So notice how Veronica and Emily talk about each other and talk about the support that they have for one another. And neither Emily nor Veronica are in a relationship together. They are in the polyamorous relationship. But listen to the conversation that they're having about each other. That's actually really beautiful. And that's what polyamorous and even some of these other choices of removing this very, very block straight path that you have to take allows you to develop. I mean, you make new friends, you meet new people, and you care about people in ways that you didn't think you had the ability to do or have the chance to. They might not have ever necessarily been friends or emotional supports for one another had this relationship not happened.
Well said, very well said. Thank you.
I would also like to mention really quick that Veronica came to James and my wedding. She did my makeup. It's really great.
Yeah, you won't hear that in a Baptist church. Do you worry about being replaced? Maureen?
Anybody can do my work, nobody can take my place. I don't, I don't think that. I don't think I think that. So I guess the answer is no.
And I replace, nightly, so it's really, it's okay.
How do you handle finances among partners, if at all? Is there any? Yeah, right.
I guess, I don't know, like, me and Dave share bank accounts because we're primary cohabitating. It's mostly a little bit more of an issue when you're cohabitating. So before I did have a boyfriend that I was living with me, Dave, and the boyfriend. And we still maintain separate accounts. We negotiated the rent, things like that. We paid this every month. And as far as dates, usually we'll negotiate that beforehand, before the dates. Generally, the partner makes a little more. Right now, I'm kind of between jobs, so I don't pay for anything right now. But you negotiate the small stuff, and then don't sweat the small stuff. If somebody picks up dinner and then you can't for a few weeks or months or however long this lasts, then it's okay. It's about compassion and communication still.
Okay. Anything else?
My biggest stress is who buys drinks, so.
Okay.
It's really light, I'm telling you. This is very
Molly light, very light. As a nurse, I wonder if there are any precautions taken to protect about STDs. That's the question everybody has in here already, right? I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
What'd you say, Maureen? Okay.
I do believe in frequent testing, comprehensive testing. A lot of people actually, if they're non-monogamous in the non-ethical way and they go cheat, there's actually a higher risk because they're doing something unethical. They won't necessarily be prepared, have condoms or things like that. No, we usually get yearly screenings. My husband's girlfriend is a nurse, so she gets more frequent and nice there. And then any partners that we fluid bond with, we're a little bit selective about. We have to inform the whole group is what our conditions are. Fluid bonding is when you have sex without protection condoms. Otherwise, condoms are used all the time. I use condoms on my toys if they're going to be inserted, so just to prevent spread of things like that. But knowledge is power. Get tested often. Get tested for everything because they don't always test for everything at all screenings.
Maureen, what were you going to say?
I would say same thing. I'm tested every 6 months. My doctor's very open. He's young, and so I'm pretty open with him about my lifestyle. And so he has suggested I be tested every 6 months, which I have been. I have testing results on my phone. So if I need them, they're there. I always have a condom with me. If you're sexually active, you should always have a condom with you. Safety is real important to me.
And then, especially for us, so I think that the statement that if you cheat on who you're doing, that's usually an unexpected event and you're trying to hide situations, so therefore you are less prepared. It is comical, but it is very practical. I mean, if we go to big parties or we're doing group activities and stuff like that, literally there's a bowl of condoms on the tables. I mean, it is very much in our faces, especially since our relationship standard is a sexually driven. We know at the end of the night, someone's going to be doing something with somebody, and we have packs around.
Right.
So, by all means, we've been preached across the board from everybody in a very just manner, save sex.
Yeah.
And live it, because it does help.
Just a kind of a comment. Thanks. 5 or 10? 10? 5, okay. We have one swinger, we have 3 poly, whatever. Again, the labels aren't important. You may not realize it, but there are poly parties here in Kansas City that have close to 1,000 people showing up at them on New Year's Eve. So
I've actually hosted them.
Yeah. So don't think that this is just, in our poly families, it's got almost 500 members, and I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more of that than that in this bigger community of Kansas City. So this is not, just because people don't talk about it, it's been under the radar, and I'm thrilled to see Oasis out here letting this kind of information get out. Whether you choose it or not, it's irrelevant. It's talk about it. Okay, let's just make this our last question, because Josh says we have 5 minutes or less. Raising your own children, and this may be an Emily question, are you encouraging them to practice monogamy first until they're able to juggle multiple dyads, or to practice as they feel led despite their developmental abilities?
James is like, I don't know.
You want to talk about that first, Emily? You have the kid.
I guess we don't really promote one way or another. We tell him about, that he's probably not ready now. He's only 10.
He doesn't have 4 girlfriends already?
He might.
2 boyfriends?
He might. I don't know. Yeah. What's the question again?
How are you raising your children? Are you teaching? I think the question really is, are you teaching them about non-monogamy as a reasonable, rational option for him as he grows up? Or will you?
Yeah. I think he'll have to know about it since we're living it ourselves. We're not going to really promote one way or another. I think we try to teach him, the different options that are available in terms of everything, like religion. We try to, say that these are the types of religions there are. Like his grandparents, they're Catholic, we're not. So I think we try to teach him, but I don't think we're trying to, once he starts dating, I don't think we're saying it has to be this way, you have to be like us.
Okay. I'm going to let one more question get in here, just because most of the questions I see are kind of repeats or overlap, but this one nobody's asked. When you meet someone new, at what point do you tell them you're non-monogamous? That's a question that I've heard a lot of people ask. Maureen, why don't you say something about that? I think you've had that issue. And the results of that issue, I think that's always interesting.
Well, maybe I've learned a few things.
Yeah.
And I changed my profile so it does say that. And so I do say on my profile the person should be poly-friendly. It just gets to be too much if you meet somebody and you haven't said, than to try to explain that. I just find it so much easier to have people who are poly, or at least poly-friendly. It just is just so much easier. I have one partner in particular who just takes great joy in the fact that I have these other partners, and I just think that's wonderful, and it makes it better for all of us. And so I just find it's just easier to do it right up front.
Yeah. Anybody else, Maureen?
I interpret that a little different. There's different type of people, so, potential partners I'll tell right away. If I find somebody interesting, I'm not sure what they are, they need to know what my situation is. But then there's other people, you meet somebody casually at work, and I don't talk about anything at work. I don't know, work's work, you don't talk about religion, sex, politics, anything at work. I don't anyway. I don't know. So I usually don't talk about those type of situations. I kind of haven't told my parents. There's YouTube videos. They'll figure it out someday. But those kind of YouTube videos, like talks like this. But somebody I meet at Oasis, this is a great community. I do try to explain, okay, and it's kind of obvious to you. I'm not exactly shy with the PDA. I think there's probably some people here who think I'm dating half the room because I'm very affectionate, but it's the two guys right now.
Okay, well, let's wind it up here. Thanks so much to our panel. There are many books, many articles. Maureen has 2 great books right there. 2 are fairly recent books. And just tell them what they are. Opening Up is one by Tristan Taormino, and More Than Two by Franklin Vo. They're reading, Polyfamilies is reading this right now. Polyfamilies have read a number of books, I know. But anyway, let me just sum this up real quickly. As you know, I think sexuality is the weak spot of religion. And the more we are open and out and accepting of our own sexuality, but even more important, other people's sexuality, And that's what the same-sex marriage thing has been all about in the last few years. And once it broke, I mean, it's just an amazing thing that's starting to happen. We're seeing conversations that simply couldn't happen before. And we can stand up and be proud as poly people, or as swingers, or as exclusive, not monogamous, exclusive people. There's nothing wrong with any of those choices. But we can stand up for people who make different choices than us. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, and it's consensual, adult kinds of things, there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't care what the Baptists say, the Nazarenes, the Mormons, the Muslims, it doesn't matter. They don't tell us what we can do with our bodies, and we don't tell them what they can do with their bodies. We want to be respectful of one another and one another's choices. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here today, and I'm going to turn it back over to Josh.